Sklar Brothers Attitude.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Sklar Bro Country, the virus edition, aka the Pandy Pods,
aka two bros, one nose,
aka two dudes, one attitude,
aka Jort Center,
aka two Wolverines, one Sklarentine.
correct.
We are so happy to join you after a couple of weeks of insane, moving, critical, important protests out there, being a part of it, however you guys are being a part of it, supporting however you're supporting. We support you, and we support everybody who watches and listens to this podcast for whatever reason. We set out to create a podcast that gives people a break, a chance to recharge batteries.
Yep.
Maybe we don't. There are moments where we dig in and it gets heated on here.
Sure.
But that's just because it rises above that. We try to give people that chance who are in the fight, whatever you're doing. If you're a frontline worker, health worker on COVID, this is your chance to kind of take just a step back and not think about all the stuff you did that day. If you're someone who is struggling with your job to keep your business and whatnot, we're giving you that little break. If you are someone who lifts other people up,
Indeed.
we're here to help lift you up in that moment. And that is exactly what we're going to talk about at the top of this show, because something personal and incredible happened this weekend.
And it was born out of what we shared from our lives, really Randy's life and family's life on this podcast. And to
The
us,
power of it.
The power of sharing your story, the power of sharing the difficulties that you're going through or anything that's happened to you, sharing that out into the world is a powerful tool because other people can latch onto it, connect with it, and use it to inspire.
Be
even
inspired by it. So Sunday, I was walking on Sunday. I got done walking with my friend, and we get a text from our buddy Scott Rogowski, Rags, who we love so much, who did Sklars and Stripes with us, and he was the host of HQ, someone who's important to us. He got a text from his buddy saying he was listening to the George Floyd memorial service, and he said the Sklars were name-checked in that.
They just got a shout out by Reverend Stackhouse.
Yep, Christopher Stackhouse, Reverend Dr. Christopher Stackhouse,
Who gave the eulogy, one of the most uplifting, amazing, incredible speeches,
And
not just because we were mentioned.
No, but shouted out this unbelievable that we got shouted out in this thing because he was referring to the story about my daughters putting up the signs, having them ripped down, putting them up again, having them ripped down, that woman coming at my wife on Nextdoor, me going after that person and standing up for what's right. We told that story in a very heated way. I was sweating as I was reading you my Nextdoor responses. I didn't know how it was going to go, and I was sweating, but it meant something to me, and I didn't want my kids really wanted to do something in this moment.
So your kids, we obviously understand that, because we're white, we don't face the same issues and the same difficulties that our black brothers and sisters in this country have to deal with
On a regular basis.
We aren't pulled over by the cops and asked, why are we in this neighborhood? We aren't harassed in a way that other people. And so we can only stand with them and support them and ask them how they're doing, and also put up our signs to say, we're with you. This fight is not just a small group of people fighting against the status quo. This is a larger group of people. So Randy's daughters wanted to join the fight, and then they faced firsthand, day after they got into it, opposition, aggression, people trying to take them down,
tearing down
the goodwill that they created. And so we share that story. Well, apparently it got through.
And I'll explain how it did, but this amazing person was talking, and he
name-checked nobody else.
We'll put that as our
Opening clip.
The opening clip. Let's do it as we go to break.
Okay.
We'll put it as we go to break. We'll play the 2-minute clip and I highly recommend going and watching the entire speech.
It's an incredible speech that builds that, whether you believe in God or not, it quotes the Bible and at the same time turns it and creates. it makes relevant a biblical verse to the moment that we are in right now in a way that I have seen very few people, maybe Rabbi Sharon Brous at ECAR, maybe a couple other moments in my life, but it was a stirring speech. It was a moving speech. It was a hopeful speech.
Yeah. So
and
the hope and
for us to be associated with the part of the speech that represented for this man when he looked out on the horizon and saw signs of hope, signs of, in his words, God's hand
coming this
tell
way.
him to come this way. If to be associated with that, to have our name invoked even in the heart of that,
It was
a surreal moment that lifted us up, and
forget about us. It shows that even the smallest of things that people do can get noticed by this man in North Carolina. He noticed it. The signs got teared down and they got put back up again. They got teared down again. But guess what? He saw it. Just like we need to see people from even if we're in Los Angeles, we need to see people in Minnesota. We need to see people in New York. We need to see people in Louisville. We need to see people in North Carolina.
See their experiences, acknowledge it, connect with it.
It was unbelievable. So we're going to play the clip for you, the 2-minute clip when we are done here. But the best part is we're like, we got to find this guy and thank him and tell him how great his speech was, because it's just a gem. And we got to tell, so he posted about it on Twitter, and we posted the 2-minute clip on our Instagram and our Twitter if you want to watch the 2-minute clip, but we're going to put it in this thing right here. So we followed him, and then he followed back us, and I started to.
He also posted on Twitter that he mentioned us in his speech.
That's right.
Like he's the first one who reached out to say, hey,
we didn't want to, because we're like, this is not about us. This is not about this. And then when he did it, we're like, it's okay.
But he said to us, hey, I mentioned you in my speech. And then he reached out to us on direct message.
So I reached out on direct message, and he said, I had the honor of doing the George Floyd Memorial Service this past Saturday. In the eulogy, I mentioned the efforts of your children to stand with my community, the black community, and I want them to know the small gestures can positively impact people they may have never met. That is unbelievable.
Well, and it's also what we argue on
what I argued on Nextdoor and on Nextdoor.com.
It's what you argued in the face of a woman who said,
you think these signs are for us? They're not for us.
She couldn't have got Lauren on Nextdoor.com said, you just put these signs up for yourself.
Virtual signaling for yourself.
So you can just take a selfie in front of. That's not what it was for.
And she called them idiotic signs. Well, now who is idiotic in this moment? Because those signs meant something to someone. And I then went back, and I'm not going to read you my whole thing, but I just lavished praise on him and thanked him for it and told him how great the speech was and what it meant to us and what a moment it was for my girls to watch him speak about them at this memorial service.
My children who weren't part of the sign, but I explained to them the story of the signs. My children, to hear their last name invoked by this gentleman who had them enwrapped through this whole speech and was getting them emotionally riled up and connected to him, that was a huge moment.
So I wrote him, and then I asked him, I said, by the way, how did you come upon the story? Because we really only talked about it on this.
Right.
We only talked about it on Sklar Brothers Country.
I think you posted on Instagram photos of them, but I don't know. You didn't tell the story. Yeah.
Not that it got ripped down, and nor the Nextdoor.com. And I thought maybe a parishioner of his that listens to the podcast and told him about it. I don't know. So then he wrote this back to me. This is so good. He wrote this back to me. I heard about what your family was doing because I listened to your Virus Edition podcast Monday through Friday. It's a great way for me to unwind from the heavy responsibilities of my day. There you go. We're not just here to do this for hipsters in Brooklyn and Portland and Austin, okay? We are doing this so that it reaches anybody.
And there are times where Randy and I have sat down and said, I don't know if we can do this today. I don't know if I have it in me to do this today, or how long are we going to do this, or should we continue doing this podcast?
I'm going to say this. He then gave a really nice comment. You and your brother are hilarious, by the way. The stories you tell are amazing. And then he quoted, I cut a you hair. I cut a you hair. He quoted, I cut a you hair. Oh my God. When I listened to how your family was trying to support Black lives and somebody was mean enough to try and diminish your children's efforts, I was inspired to say something. Little things matter. If we allow those who peddle hate to convince us otherwise, then they succeed in silencing us. So we have now committed. We went back and forth a couple more times. I've asked him to do a voicemail for us, which hopefully he'll get to me. I hope. I don't want to be on him, but tonight that we can maybe put in tomorrow. If we don't do it in tomorrow's show, we'll hopefully get it before the end of the week. I just want him to speak directly to you guys. This man is amazing. I love him, and I know you do too. And I'm just inspired by the fact that comedy and a message we reached across the country. We reached
comedy, politics, civil rights.
We reached across the country. We reached across race. We reached across religion, and we met at this center point of understanding, and it is here. I'm so excited.
For those of you who didn't hear, we're going to play for you right now. We'll play for you the 2-minute clip.
2-minute clip of leading up. Again, I highly recommend you listen to the entire thing because it's totally worth it. But we're going to play you the 2-minute clip leading to
where he builds up and gets to referencing Daisy and
Georgia and what they did, and we'll use that to go to break. We love you guys, all of you, everybody who's listening to this. Tell the people in your life that you love them. That's such an important thing to do, and what I realize right now how important that is.
Share this. We love you. Share this podcast with other people. You never know who it's going to connect with and who it's going to
inspire beyond. Exactly.
Fulfill a need for. It certainly fulfills a need for us.
So this is the Reverend Dr. Christopher Stackhouse. Check it out. It's the 2-minute clip, but we highly recommend listening and watching the longer. We'll be back after the break.
I dared to have faith, hoping that this time when I looked up across the mountaintop to survey the landscape of America, I hoped that I'd see something when every other time I looked and I'd seen nothing. I said amen from my conversation with God. Floyd family, you said amen from your conversation with God. And we looked across the American landscape, and just like the servant, that nameless servant in the Bible, when we looked across the landscape of America, I see it.
I see it.
It's off in the distance.
I see it.
It's small, but it's moving this way.
Yeah. Moving this way.
I see it. I see white evangelicals who are usually silent during racist times beginning to speak up against the hate of racism. I see God's hand moving this way. I looked and I saw protests had started. And when the camera zoomed in, I saw there were as many white faces and as many Hispanic faces as there were black faces. We were all coming together in unity for humanity. And I looked and I saw God's hand moving this way. I looked, Floyd family, and they arrested not just one of the officers, but they arrested all 4 officers that took George Floyd's life. I looked and I saw God's hand coming this way. I saw police taking the knee. I saw a sheriff calling out other sheriffs. I saw the military take off their riot gear and walk with people. I saw God's hand coming this way. I saw the Sklar Brothers, the comedians. I saw that they had children that made signs, and when hateful people took down their signs, our Jewish brothers and sisters went back up and put the signs back up. I see God's hand moving this way.
Rand, I'm just going to say it. I love my Raycon earphones, Earbuds, whatever you want to call them.
Earbud, they're like 2 golden retrievers.
In my ear, and they're noise canceling.
They're champions. I love them so much. Well, whether you're working from home and you need that peace and you need, the quiet of it, or you're working on your fitness, just walking around your neighborhood, getting some fresh air, you listen to this podcast on it, the Raycon earbuds are just so unbelievable. They cancel out the noise. The sound quality is perfect. Every phone conversation I've had while on them, perfect. Everyone needs to get a pair of these wireless earbuds. Before you go dropping hundreds of dollars on a pair, which is very easy to do, check out our friends, the wireless earbuds at Raycon. Why do I call them earbuds? They're earbuds. Mm-hmm. You already know they start off at about half the price of other premium earbuds. Their newest model, Everyday E25 earbuds, are their best ones yet. 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, more compact design, gives you a nice noise isolating fit. Their wireless earbuds they're really comfortable, and they literally cover the whole ear. I love listening to music. I love listening to podcasts. I feel like I'm right in the action. Now is the time to get the latest and greatest from Raycon. Get 15% off your order by raycon.com/starburns. That's buy, BUYRAYCON.com/starburns for 15% off. Raycon wireless earbuds. buyraycon.com/Starburns. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. We want to mention that we've got our YouTube page. That's youtube.com. Look up Sklar Bro Country. We're starting to put up clips of the Okendo special. We're going to just like segment it out. I think it's like in 12 different segments. We're going to start to release those.
What's interesting about the Okendo special, which I will share, which is fantastic, it's the only time our late father, who we loved and feel connected with, only time he was ever on TV.
And he's on that first segment. It's so worth seeing. If you want to understand who we are and our philosophy and just how much we love Dick Sklar, you got to watch this thing, okay? So it'll be on, again, the YouTube page. Subscribe to the YouTube page. Go around, watch all the videos. That really helps us out, and it's fun. It keeps you going. All right. Let's get into this final story.
If you're wondering about what's happening in China,
if things are back to normal,
are they back to status quo or pre?
Yeah, normal is a little.
Yeah, pre-coronavirus China, maybe.
I'm gonna tell you they are.
They are,
and this story illustrates it right here. Okay, a 30-year-old man in China had a whole fish removed from his rectum after he allegedly sat on it by accident.
You did not allegedly sit on something by accident. So in order to allegedly sit on something by accident, you have to be wearing nothing.
Right. So there are so many things that you did to make
you have to be unaware that it's going in until it's all the way in.
Okay, so let me get into this. Gruesome footage shows medics removing a dead blue tilapia from the patient's body.
If it wasn't dead before it went in, it's definitely dead now.
I'll never eat tilapia again.
No.
And yes, I watched the footage, and yes, it was a whole fish, scales and all, sat on by accident. There is no way.
I mean, at least it's not a catfish.
Yeah, which would have been terrible, because if it was a catfish, it could have been somebody in Alaska.
Right.
Just another person. You know, you don't want to get catfished when trying to sit on a whole fish.
True.
Unless you're skinny dipping at a fish farm and you didn't and you thought you were sitting on a bench and then you sat down, like that's the only. I'm trying to think of a way that he could have been surprised by it. Okay, you shouldn't be naked in a fish because people eat that fish. Anyway,
Jesus.
Have you ever heard the phrase, Jan? I'm just going to throw it out there. You can't swim in the Yangtze Cayenne River without sitting on a tilapia. Have you ever heard that phrase?
No, I have not.
No, because it's not a phrase.
That's not a phrase.
It's not a phrase that anybody's ever said ever.
You don't accidentally sit on a fish.
You just
although that feels like, what do you got a fish up your ass? Like that feels like something someone would say to someone. Get that fish out of your ass.
That's right.
Relax, or
wiggle it out. You don't feel comfortable, so now you have to clean it before you actually clean it twice.
Scale it back. No one's eating that.
Sitting on the fish, or sitting on fish, by the way, as I was thinking about it and saying it out loud, could be like a podcast that a Jewish kid from who went to school up in Burlington, Vermont, graduated in '99. It's him,
and he has a bunch
of like rehearsal sessions from the mid-'90s of fish
that he's been sitting on for like 10 years.
So he's going to release one every single podcast ever. Sitting on fish with Brendan Holmberg. Okay. Reports from local media did not specify the fish's size, but they specifically, I saw it. It's big.
What is it? Like,
it's a real big fish. Sell out
this big?
With me, my friends. It definitely was big enough to raise all the questions that we're raising. Okay, like how in the world
did it go in?
Why
there?
In the world?
How did you not know you were sitting on it? At like the head alone.
The incident is believed to have taken place last Tuesday.
Yeah, at that point, when it's up there and you need a doctor to get it out,
so
I think that's the point where you stop lying about how it got there.
So that's the other way. We'll get to that. Now, to me, I feel like for China, I'm just going to say that out there, now is not the time for people in China to be sitting on fish.
Right.
Given what we some of the rumors and others, now is not the time to do it. If you have to do it, can you wait a little while?
Right.
Can you just wait until doctors made
this guy might have to be quarantined for like 5 years.
Doctors made a shocking discovery during an x-ray scan after the 30-year-old man had gone viral for severe abdominal pain. I love that he went to the hospital for abdominal pain.
It's like, I'm feeling this weird pain in my side.
And made the doctors figure out what was going on.
Yeah. That's it.
Is that the thing that bothers you the most?
That bothers me so much.
Make them find the root of the problem.
Yeah.
You know why your stomach hurts.
I don't know. My stomach's been giving me problems. Maybe it's indigestion.
The first thing out of your mouth is, I'm at the hospital, I sat on a fish, and I'm really sorry.
Right.
That's it.
Guys, I did something horrible.
Yes.
What? I sat on a fish. All right, get it out.
There are no symptoms. What if, like, you walk in the hospital, guys, I sat on a fish, and then someone from the back is like, I love that podcast. I sat on a fish. I'm sorry. There are no symptoms. There is no pathology. This is nothing but you sat on it's your
I will
fault.
not waste 30 seconds of your time. I will not waste 30 seconds of your time.
I sat on a fish and I am sorry. I am seriously embarrassed about what I did.
Yes.
Okay? The patient who remains anonymous. Wait. I feel like we should all know his name.
No. We need to know who this
Right?
is. Yeah.
He
This
chose
should
sit
be
on a
it.
fish.
This is the kind of thing where we need to know.
So nobody puts it up there without his permission. Am I right?
Right.
Am I right, Jay? The accidental fish up the rectum, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Here's what his statement actually is. The man claimed that the fish slipped into his rectum after he'd accidentally sat on the creature. Accidentally sat. Again, you're not explaining how that happened.
It's not an accident.
Jay, how did that
This
happen?
guy was so uptight, a fish went up there and it came out fish sticks.
This is not an accident. It's premeditation.
It's premeditated.
Okay? The man eventually came to the hospital after failing to remove the fish from the backside himself. Yeah, you're going to need professional help. You can't go up there and get it yourself.
Once it's in there too far.
So the medics had to surgically cut open his belly to remove the dead. It was a C-section, almost, essentially.
There you go.
From his rectum because, quote, the fish was quite big. Is that a medical term, quite big?
He was like, can I hold him first before you clean him off?
The mistake was quite big.
Yeah, it was a
That's what
massive
is.
mistake. That's an error in judgment.
That fish was this far from his rectum when it was up there.
That was our dad's old joke. I
caught a fish this far from shore.
Classic dad joke.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised a fish out? Like, who's surprised in that incident? You know what I mean?
So we used to go fishing with
A
our
nurse
dad.
said, a nurse could be heard in the video saying, it stinks so much. She said it in a way that she sounded surprised. Now, I don't know Chinese inflection, but she sounded surprised.
Subtitled?
Yeah. You're surprised? That's like being surprised that Donald Trump is race baiting.
Yeah.
That's surprising. I
like,
can't believe.
I don't get this. He's all of a sudden, he's trying to stir stuff up. Instead of uniting us, he's dividing us. I don't get it.
It remains unclear if the patient has fully recovered from embarrassment. You're never going to recover.
So when we were kids, Randy and I, our dad, I don't know if we talked about this on this podcast, but we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
We'd go fishing with our dad. And our
We
dad,
did talk about this, the
on
Big Bertha?
Big Bertha
Yeah, we
pull.
did. Yeah.
So this feels like, I didn't see the size of the fish. I'm only here about it.
I'm not joking. It's this big. This is not
It
a joke.
feels like what Big Bertha would pull out, and then we could go home.
Yep. That's the one fish. If you get just this size fish,
We had a good day.
We had a good day.
We had a good day fishing.
Go get-
This guy
go-
sat on it. Like, to me, if it's a minnow, if you sat down and a minnow shot up there, and you're like, all right,
There's nothing we
it's a
can do about it.
sardine, I didn't know. I'm not sure. It was an accident. I
leech.
said, you didn't
This
accidentally
is huge.
sit.
Another elderly Chinese resident.
How was it sitting? Was it?
I don't know.
Standing up so that you? I don't.
Chinese resident, and who sees a fish standing directly like this and says, I
Let
need
me
to
sit
on-"
there. Let me sit there.
Another elderly Chinese resident recently had a 10-inch chopstick lodged in his belly after inserting it into his backside out of curiosity. I think we talked about this on Dumb People Town. You have to be so curious.
He was eating a tushy roll.
Curiosity has been known to kill a lot more than a cat. All right,
Yes.
68-year-old man from Hubei claimed that he was interested in checking the backside after developing piles. Everything about that sentence is wrong, even though grammatically it's correct.
Mm-hmm.
The patient was discharged from the hospital after they removed a metal stick from the pensioner's
So he's stuck
intestine.
and say that. So the fish.
By the way, metal. That's not a chopstick. That's a chop pipe.
Jesus.
Media reports do not specify the chopstick's length, but the Chinese cutlery is about 25 centimeters, 10 inches long. The elderly man visited the hospital in Zhangjiang.
I mean, is
Hubei
this
province
how
of
we
Central-
know China's back?
That
we're
they're
back
just
to
sticking
normal?
things back up there.
I mean,
He walked into the hospital.
I guess it's like billions of people. There will be people with these issues.
He said he was suffering again from a severe abdominal pain. The reason I tell both these stories is that both people did not walk in.
If you did something to yourself, don't make the doctors guess.
Don't make them run tests. Don't make them do x-rays. Say, I stuck this up inside me. You
and
can
now
take-
I'm terrified.
That's right.
You could say, please don't tell anyone.
Don't act shocked when they show you an x-ray with the chop pipe up there.
Yeah.
Okay? It's there. A duty doctor gave an x-ray scan, and we spotted a metal object in the patient's abdominal cavity.
Right.
The elderly resident confessed to the medics that he was using the stick to check his hemorrhoids out of curiosity. How long did it take him to confess? That should have been right there as you're signing the paperwork. Did you eat anything out of the ordinary?
No.
Did you fall down on something? No.
No.
Were you fishing? No.
Oh yeah, I did stick a giant stick all the way up into my stomach.
It's as rare as sitting on a fish. I love that podcast.
Sitting on a fish?
Sitting on a fish, I think, needs to become a new corporate term.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
really don't sit on the fish.
We
on this
sat
one.
on the fish on this one.
That's right. He really sat on the fish on this one,
And the whole situation does
it
not
means
smell
he did
too good.
something small that is now
that he didn't tell us about.
right, and he now is going to make his life hell.
Somebody did.
That's right. So, I can't believe that paralegal agreed to retype all the notes from the Messersmith case this weekend. Well, he really sat on the fish on that one.
Or they're covering up a small mistake. Covering up a
Not
small
being
mistake
honest
not just
and
being
forthcoming.
honest and forthcoming and just explaining what happened, and then now it's a way bigger problem. If you would have been honest, if
Yeah,
you would have just said this is the deal, or I'm into this. This is where someone doesn't have someone in their lives to say don't do that.
You're right.
So like
He's single.
you're single. If you have a wife, if you in this guy's case a wife or a husband, I don't know what his
He's
sexual
30
orientation
though.
is.
He's young.
You're too young to make that choice. You can have that instinct inside of you.
Girlfriend, boyfriend, friend, really close friend,
Someone's
roommate.
just like, hey,
Hey, I see you putting that fish on the couch. Don't. I know where you're going with this. Don't do it.
yeah, you don't want that.
Well, I'm going to close this show out with an ancient Chinese proverb, and I don't know if you
I
know
don't
this
know a lot
ancient
of
Chinese
ancient
proverb,
proverbs, yeah.
but you give a man a fish and he eats for a day. If a man sits on a fish, he'll never eat fish for the rest of his life.
I don't know how this guy can do. I mean, unless he thinks that's how he eats, is to
It's like Coke in the butt. You
Right.
know what I mean? It's like
butt chugging, or like there's that notion of like maybe I can get this in there and not get the calories. This is how far we've taken dieting to a whole new level. If I get
I'm
it
just
out,
saying we're back to doing this stuff in China, and one can only hope that we'll be back to doing the stupid things in
that
our
keep
country.
America going.
That's right.
That we've built this country on in
That's
many
right.
ways.
That's right.
All right, that's a show.
We love you guys, all of you. Thank you to everyone who's listening, those who we know and those who we don't know. Tell people about this, subscribe to it, rate it, review it, and hopefully we can get this voicemail from Dr. Reverend Christopher Stackhouse that we can put in the show either tomorrow or the next day. I'm fingers crossed he sends it our way. He was
It's
like,
a beautiful thing. I don't feel like I've felt more connected than that moment. So I'll say this to you. If you see somebody doing something great, whether it's someone you know or someone you just admire, call them out, connect with them, let them know, tell them that they're doing something that inspires you, and that will make
now
both
more
sides
than
feel good.
ever, because they're doing it, but you're going to make them feel good too. And you have that power as well. All right, punch a water faucet, go wash your hands, stay connected, though stay protected, don't get infected, and we'll see you tomorrow.
La-ti-da, la-ti-da-ti-da-ti-da, la-ti-da-da.